So in the last section, we looked at solving equations by graphing, and now we're going to be solving linear systems using algebra. And the technique we're going to be using today is called substitution. Okay, so we're going to start off our same way with two equations. So in this method, we're going to choose one of the equations, and we're going to isolate either the x or the y. Okay, so normally you're always doing y is equal to mx plus b, so your habit is to isolate for y, okay? But in this, you can isolate whichever is easier, either x or y, okay? So don't always focus on the y, sometimes the x is easier. So let's look at our four variables here. So we have y, we have 3x, we have y, we have x. So technically all of these are fairly easy. We want, our top priority is going to be a letter that has nothing in front of it, no number in front or no negative sign. Okay, that's going to be the very easiest. Then we also like that this y is already isolated by itself. But here we'd have to move the x over, not very hard, but we'd still have to do it. This one's done for us already, so we don't have to do a single thing to this. We could just take it as is. So we're going to choose that one. So I like to highlight the variable that I'm choosing. Okay, so that's going to be our step one. In this case, it's really easy. Isolate. I'm just going to recopy that equation for this time. Our second step is to substitute. Okay, so we're going to take the other equation. So we're going to substitute the right side of the equals into the other equation and then solve that equation. So we're going to take the equation that doesn't have the highlighting that we didn't choose. So I'm going to write that down. Y plus x is equal to negative 14. And now, instead of the y, I'm going to write this, the right side of this equation. So I'm going to rewrite this, open my brackets, 3x plus 2 plus x is equal to negative 14. Okay, so I have just replaced this y with this. So notice now, once you've done this, you should have only one variable in your equation. Here I have an x, here I have an x. If you end up still with two variables, an x and a y, you've done something wrong, okay? You have to have only one variable. So sometimes there'll be a number here in front, so let's say a 2 or even a negative, that we'll have to then multiply in. But in this case, because there's nothing in front here, I just wrote these brackets so it's simpler. You don't actually have to write them, okay? Then we're going to look for like terms. So we have a 3x, we have an x here, so these are the same variable, so we can add those together. 3x plus x gives us 4x plus 2 is equal to negative 14. We then need to subtract 2 from both sides to move it over. So we get 4x is equal to negative 16. And then we want the x to be by itself. So we're going to divide everything by 4 to get rid of that 4. So we get x is equal to negative 16 divided by 4 is going to give us negative 4. Okay, so now we've solved for x. So then our next step is to take the value solved for in step 2. So that's this right here, this value, and substitute that into your equation from step 1 to find the other value. So we're going to take this isolated form here, and we're going to put the x here. So we're going to do step 3 is solve. So we're going to take our equation there, y is equal to 3x plus 2. And instead of the x, we're going to open up our bracket and we're going to write the minus 4. So that minus 4 is coming from here. So this is going right into here. Okay. So now in this case, there's a number in front of our bracket, so we need to multiply that. So we get y is equal to 3 times minus 4 is going to give us negative 12 plus 2. So that's going to be negative 10. So now we can write our solution. Okay, we always write our x value first. So here we have -4, comma, -10. And that's our solution for this question. Let's try another example. Here, sorry, before I go on to that. So this solution, if you were going to graph this, would be where these two lines are intersecting. Notice this number is very large, so this is going off the graph, like off the normal graph that you have in these boxes. Okay, so that's why it's especially if you have messy numbers, it's actually a lot easier to solve algebraically. Okay, next one says solve by substitution and then check. So check, that's what we were doing yesterday with this. Okay, so they want you to find the answer, then they want you to put it into the both equations and make sure it's correct. Okay, so we're going to do that. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to look at all of our 4 variables and pick the easiest one. So here we have 3x, we have a y by itself, we have 7x, and we have -2y. So in this case, the easiest one is this y. Okay, so this one's not already isolated, so we have a little bit of work to do. So our step 1 is isolate. So we're going to take 3x plus y is equal to 3. We want the y by itself, so we'll move the 3x over by subtracting 3x from both sides. So we get y is equal to -3x plus 3. Okay, so that's our step 1. Our step 2, so we're going to take the equation that we did not have a highlighting on. 7x minus 2y is equal to 20. And here we have a y by itself, so that means we're going to rewrite our equation up until we get to the y. We're going to open our bracket, and we're going to write out whatever's here in our bracket. -3x plus 3. Close our bracket. And then don't forget to write the rest of the equation. Sometimes people will just stop, and then they won't be able to solve their equation. You have to make sure you write this last bit. Okay? So you're just gonna look and double check that you only have one variable. So I only have x's, so that's good. I'm gonna get rid of my bracket, so I'm gonna take this -2 and I'm gonna multiply it here and here. So a mistake that people make is they'll only multiply the -2 with the -3, but you have to multiply it to both of these different terms. So here and here. So now we have 7x plus 6x minus 6 is equal to 20. And we're going to combine our similar variables here, so 7x and 6x. So we get 13x minus 6 is equal to 20. Then we need to move that 6 to the other side, so we'll add 6 to both sides. So we get 13x is equal to 26. And then we want the x by itself, so we'll divide everything by 13. We get x is equal to 2. Okay. So our next step is going to be solve for the other variable. So we want to have the equation that we used in part 1, but we want it at its isolated form. So we're not going to take this equation. We're going to take the one where we've already isolated everything. So y is equal to -3x plus 3. So instead now of my x, I'm going to use the value that I found right here. So I'm going to put the 2 in there. I need to do this multiplication. So I get y is equal to -3 times 2 is going to give me -6 plus 3. So we get -3. So then my solution is going to be my x first, so 2, and then -3. And that's my solution for this question. Okay, let's try another one together. So again, we're going to look at all of our different variables. There's none of them that have nothing in front. However, this x just has a -1, so it means that it's the easiest to isolate. It means we won't end up with fractions. Okay. Remember, look at your x's. Sometimes people are so focused on y's that they end up with really, really complex equation when they could have had something that's a lot easier if they had used the x. Okay. So I'm going to highlight this. My step 1 is isolate. So I have -x plus 8y is equal to -5. I'm going to subtract -8y to move it over. So I have -x is equal to -8y minus 5. Now I need to get rid of the negative in front. So I'm going to divide everything by -1. So I get x is equal to 8y plus 5. Okay, my step 2 is substitute. So I'm going to take the other equation that does not have highlighting, 2x minus 4y is equal to 7. And this equation is going to go in where the x is. 8y plus 5 minus 4y is equal to 7. So if you want to try this right now, you can pause and give this a try and see if you get the same answer as me. So I'm going to do this multiplication to get rid of my brackets for first. 2 times 8 is going to give me 16y. 2 times 5 is going to be 10. Minus 4y is equal to 7. I'm going to combine these because they're both y's. So I get 12y plus 10 is equal to 7. I'm going to move my 10 over, so I subtract 10. So I have 12y is equal to -3. And then I want to get rid of the 12 that's in front of my y, so I'm going to divide everything by 12. So I end up with y is equal to -3 over 12. And then I can simplify that fraction by dividing the top and bottom by 3. So I end up with y is equal to -1 over 4. Then I need to do step 3, which is solve. So I need to take this equation from the beginning that was isolated. I'm going to write that out. X is equal to 8y plus 5. I'm going to write my equation here, 8. And then I have a quarter plus 5. Now here I have a fraction that I have to multiply. Okay. So when you're multiplying fractions, I'm going to write this whole number as a fraction so it's easier. So 8 over 1 times -1 over 4 plus 5. So when you're multiplying, you're going to go across the top and across the bottom. So 8 times -1. So I get -8. 1 times 4, I get 4. And then I can simplify that. 8 divided by 4 is going to be -2. So -2 plus 5 is going to be 3. Remember that you have to write your x first. So my solution is going to be 3, comma, -1 over 4. We're going to do one last example together that is a special case, okay? So if you think about what I showed you yesterday, I'm just going to go back to it. Oops. There are 3 options here. There's one solution. So everything we've been looking at so far today has been one solution. But we also have no solution and we have infinite solution. Okay, so these can come up algebraically as well, and you need to be able to recognize them. So, oops. I'm gonna write a note on the side here. Okay, my note is if you get something that says 0 is equal to 0, that means you have infinite solution. If you get 0 and then it does not equal a number, that is a no solution. Okay. So we're going to look at this example. It's going to be either an infinite solution or a no solution, just so that you can see what that looks like. Our steps are going to be the same. So we're going to isolate first. So if we look here, we have 2x, 3y, 6x, 9y. Nothing super jumps out as being that much easier than the other. So I'm just going to isolate this guy right here. Okay. So I'm going to write my equation, 2x plus 3y. Oops, that's not what I'm going to do. 2x is equal to 3y plus 4. And to be able to isolate this, I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I get x is equal to 3 over 2y plus 2. Okay. Step 2, I'm going to substitute. So I take the non-highlighted one, 6x is equal to 9y plus 8. And then I'm going to put my equation in place of the x. So I get 6, open brackets, 3 over 2y plus 2 is equal to 9y plus 8. So I need to do this multiplication here and here. So I have 6 over 1 times 3 over 2 y, and then 6 times 2 is going to be 12. So here for this multiplication, I'm going to go across the top. 6 times 3 is going to give me 18. Just going to do this over here. So I get 18 over 2. And then I can simplify that. 18 over 2 is going to give me 9. Okay, so I end up with 9y. I'm going to move this all, so just so that it's a little bit cleaner. Oops, go away. So I'm just going to go a little bubble up here. Okay, that's the multiplication. So I have 9y plus 12 is equal to 9y plus 8. Okay. So the next thing I need to do is I need all my y's on the left, all my numbers on the right. So I'm going to need to move this 9y over. Okay. So I'm going to subtract 9y from both sides. So I have 9y minus 9y, so I end up with 0y. Oops, wrong color. 0y plus 12 is equal to 8. And then I need to subtract this from both sides. So I end up with, so any 0 times y is just going to be 0. So I end up with 0 is equal to 8 minus 12 is going to be minus 4. So notice that this does not look like this. My variable, my letter, has disappeared because it was multiplied by 0, so it's gone. And then I have a number here, but 0 does not equal negative 4. So I have 0 does not equal a number, so I have no solution. This is a no solution. I don't need to continue and do step 3. I'm done at this point. If when I was here, I had gotten 0 is equal to 0, if it had worked out like that, then it would have been infinite solutions. Okay, so in this special case, you only end up doing step 1 and 2. your variable, so your letter disappears, becomes just a 0, and you either get 0 does not equal a number, or you get 0 is equal to 0. Okay, so those are the special case ones. I realized that I didn't do my check up here. It says and check. I forgot to do that for you. So what the check is, if a question says and check, is you take your solution that you found and you put it back into your two equations. So here my equation 1 is 3x plus y is equal to 3. So I put my equation, or my solution here, back into that, just to double check. So 3 times 2 plus negative 3 is equal to 3. 3 times 2 is going to give me 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. So you get 3 is equal to 3. So that one works out. Then you take your second equation, 7x minus 2y is equal to 20. And you're going to put your solution into that one too. So 7 times 2 minus 2 times negative 3 is equal to 20. And you can multiply that. So you get 14 plus 6 is equal to 20. So you get 20 is equal to 20. Okay, so this works in both of them, so it is a solution. So this checking, if you have extra time on a test and you want to really make sure your answers are right, you can check them back in the original equations, just to make sure that you didn't make a mistake somewhere. So it's a good technique to have. All right, so that's it for this section. So now you're going to go and do the homework. This is page 248, number 1, A to H. And there's only one part for this section. There's no part 2. So you can go and give that work a try.